Welcome to the Stop Doing Stupid Stuff podcast. Buckle up for workplace wisdom that actually makes sense. Your hosts, Tim Keefe and Andreas Wieman, are back to tackle the big questions with zero corporate BS and maximum real talk. Today, they're fired up about David Nilsson's game-changing INC magazine article, Why Connection Matters More Than Technology. This isn't just another thought piece. Newson is the CEO of Doxa Technology, running 800 people across a completely virtual workforce, and he's figured out something most companies are totally missing. While everyone's obsessing over the latest AI tools and tech gadgets, Newson's saying, hold up, what about the humans? Tim and Andreas are diving deep into why those soft connectors between people might be the secret sauce that makes or breaks your remote team. Get ready for insights that'll make you rethink everything about virtual work, plus the trademark SDSS energy that keeps it real.
Hey everybody, welcome to another thrilling edition of the Stop Doing Stupid Stuff podcast. I'm actually going to go solo on this podcast and ask myself questions and answer them. So everybody, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm here with my co-conspirator, Tim Keefe. So Tim, what are we going to be talking about today? I think it's something we're both uber passionate about.
Well, they're very specifically an article that was published on July 12th in Inc. magazine by a contributor named David Nilssen. He's the CEO of Doxa Technology, or Doxa Talent. And it's about, the title of the article is Why Connection Matters More Than Technology, More Than Tools. And he comes from a background that he's got credibility in this space. He runs about 800 people. 800 people is what they call out in the article, fully distributed in a virtual environment. And he talks about what he does to make that work. And I think this is pretty cool stuff. So you had a chance to read the article. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. And David Nilssen, I think he credentializes himself for all the reasons that you just mentioned here, but I think his outlook aligns closely to ours, where we look at people, process, data, and technology. And technology is great, and especially with the emergence of more practical use cases for, I'm just going to say AI, because can mean a lot of different things. But if you want to look at Gen AI.
Which one of the 10,000 generative AI tools are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just another piece of technology, and at a broad overview and philosophically speaking, I kind of look at it like it's just another piece of the tech stack. The whole purpose is how do you enable the humans leveraging that tech stack? Now that can be, depending on the industry and the application, can be two totally different things. If you're talking about writing software code and software engineering, you can have one person who's augmented by technology and you can write a huge number of apps and code, now versus it took a lot of people prior to. But if you flip it on the customer experience side, and let's say traditional contact centers, there's still like not a lot of iterations kind of going on that are showing measurable, tangible, objectively measurable results. And I think that's kind of where there's such a wide spectrum on one use case to the other, with so many dependencies on the job function, the industry, the kind of rules, regulations, or standard operating procedures for companies, which is where the large language models that are getting tapped are doing these hyper hallucinations and kind of not making practical use of it. But I think what David Nilssen does here is he kind of says, well, look, here's how I've leveraged this, this approach and virtualized multi-geographic virtualization across the globe with technology, but still centering it around humans. I think we've simply put, after that 10-minute spiel, I think we've kind of lost focus that it's all about the human. Whether you have 1,000 humans now and now AI replaces them and you have one human with a bunch of AI, it doesn't matter. That one human is still, and again, that's a overzealous example, but it's still about the human
Yep.
experience. And so
Yep.
how can we tap into that human operating system and unlock creativity and passion that maybe the byproduct, right? Instead of looking at productivity first, the byproduct is productivity. Anyway,
Well,
sorry, that was like a long-winded spiel.
yeah,
So
I know you
me,
did a Tim. You did a Tim
I,
on that one.
I did, I
I was
did.
kind of like, oh, now I know how Andreas feels. What a dick move that was. No, I'm kidding. But I think one of the things that is really important in this is, and it goes back to, one of the biggest arguments for return to office has been this kind of informal communication, learning by osmosis, blah, blah, blah. And of course, in many offices, there's not a lot of that because it doesn't necessarily happen informally, and especially depends on the behaviors of the group. And again, if people aren't social, like face-to-face social, then they're not going to want to go to the down to the coffee room and, oh, what's your name? How long have you worked here? Blah, blah, blah. They're just going to go back to their cubes and work and engage with the people they normally engage with online. And when you're virtual, that's even more so. So one of the things that I think what he's trying to get at, and it was all of these ways, really almost icebreaker questions, ways to open up informal communication with your coworkers, because when we know each other, we tend to be more engaged with them, or at least that's my experience. And I know
Well, you
I'm a
get more
boomer.
comfortable. You get more
Well,
comfortable. So the
eh,
the trust level is there to share
yeah, it's
opinions, work and non-work related. You just get a little bit more comfortable.
well, I mean, again, like think about you and I. How long have we known each other? Yet, how many hours have we ever actually spent in the same room together? Not that many.
Thankfully so, by the way.
What's that?
And thankfully so.
And not where I was going with that, but okay, never mind. Two words, and they're not happy birthday. No, very good. But again, the point being that, over time, and even in kind of a structured, not, I won't say a structured way, but we have a communication style that is more like, hey, so we know about our kids, we know about our families, we know, about, some of the trials and tribulations that are happening outside of work that we want, as coworkers, as friends, that we want to be aware of, and so that we can be empathetic, so that we can be supportive. And when we're supportive in that way, it changes the way we work together.
Exactly.
When our people are very formal and very disconnected, what do you see? You see this. Well, I need to get to Bob because I haven't heard back from him, so I'm going to send him an email and copy his boss and his boss's boss. And you're like, oh God, okay, so we know where that's going to go,
Well, it
right?
turns
And
into very transactional rigidism.
well,
It's that's it.
well, even worse, it turns into a flamogram, across, 30 or 40 people, which could have been resolved by a quick phone call that said, hey, Bob, that thing you promised me? It probably fell off your desk because you got 50 other things going on. Is there any chance I could get it today? That 10-second conversation could have been the end of it. And Bob would have said, oh, you're absolutely right. I said I would get it to you. Let me get it over to you. And I'm making that up, but that's so often the case, right? People aren't malicious, but people kind of like, if they don't know the individual, they don't have those what I call soft connectors. I'm making up something here as I think about it, but they are soft connectors, right? They're the things that make us treat each other more like friends, or at the very least, we're more than just a formal exchange over email, or through a Slack channel or whatever it might be. And I think we have to, traditionally we would have said, oh, we depend on people to do that themselves. And that's the return to office model. Oh, if everybody's, in a break room or whatever, they're in the same office, people are going to have these casual conversations that lead to improved communication.
Yeah, they'll just figure it out. Just throw all the mice in the same little maze. They'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to get out.
That would sound was that sarcastic?
Yeah, well, I mean that's it is, but it kind of isn't because that's the logic behind it.
Uh,
And I think you're spot on with that term. Like we're gonna have to jot this down, soft connectors. I think that's actually really powerful. And maybe I don't know, maybe somebody should write a book about soft skills and how to actually do it the right way and
Oh, I think some
all of
guy,
that stuff.
some
But
guy did, but
yeah, but
he's not a very smart guy,
yeah,
actually. That's what.
he's a jerk face, TM. But no, in all sincerity, I think you just nailed that description spot on. It's kind of knee-jerk reactions of saying, "Hey, let's put all these people together and they'll figure it out. They're really smart people and they'll figure it out." And like you box them in with all these rules with a return to office. And it's like, well, what you're trying to say is they'll figure it out, i.e. autonomy, but you're taking the autonomy away from them when you do an RTO in a lot of cases, and where we've helped clients out to advise them, a way or broker that medium that people are like, I don't want to go back to the office, but they go back, but at least it's more meaningful. It's not just, oh, well, it was better, before we went home, which is a lot of the logic that's applied there too. So I think it's a really good comment that you made on the soft connectors and how do you bring the people together again. Every response that we have though, and maybe after I listen to this, after it's recorded, might put my foot on my mouth, but you can tell we have centerism around people. Every decision we make in a software that is purchased or a channel that's leveraged or an interaction, whether it's, and a lot of people are like, what the hell's a phone call? I don't know. Is that a Slack channel kind of? No, it's you pick up a phone and you dial the spinner
Yeah, I don't know
and
what
you
that means
talk to
anymore.
someone. But
Yeah.
I think that's important. That's a really good segue into how can you start. I don't know the right way to articulate this clearly, but how do you like spark that human connection
Well,
back to
yeah.
each other with all of the
You know,
electronic channels?
it's interesting because I guess when we were, especially during the pandemic, when you all moved to virtual contact and Zoom calls and everything else, it always used to crack me up that when you'd start a meeting, everybody's sitting there in silence on the Zoom channel, or the whatever, and Google Meets, doesn't matter. And I always felt maybe awkward, but not awkward. I guess I'm one of those people I abhor silence in the meeting room. So I want to ask the question, like, oh, Bob, where are you coming in from? Oh, I'm in Boston, and so that creates that next conversation. Oh, I haven't been in Boston in a long time, blah, blah, blah. And people will say, Tim, that's just you being a sales guy. And I would say, well, yeah, good salespeople, like good communicators, look to create mutual connections with the people they're communicating with because it creates a point of shared experience, whatever that might be, whether it's you have children or what the type of school you went to or the type of work you went to or where you went on travel last year. It doesn't matter, right? You just got to find something where you're having that human connection, that human exchange of experience. Oh, I did a river cruise and blah blah blah, and oh, I did one too. That was really cool. Oh yeah, mine kind of sucked. The crew was a mess or whatever. So again, I think this concept of, and I think David pulls it out, is like you have to be conscious of, maybe getting people to open that conversation on a call or in a meeting, or even set the first 5 minutes aside that, hey, this is, kind of, I hate the term icebreaker for whatever reason, but it's that opener. Like, this is the time for us to get to know each other as human beings, however that may be. And one of the things that I think we've done within our organization here at Transform CX and SDSS is, particularly for the international teams, is really allowing for like a year-end celebration. But people would say, well, that's wasted time. That's not directly tied to revenue generation. And I go, well, yeah, you're right. It's not, but it is directly tied to employee engagement. And that to us is incredibly important because we know that if our people are engaged, we have better business outcomes. So I'm going to just, I think, to kind of close it out to your, it is, yes, it is a casual, needs to feel casual, but it can be structured in that, people need to get to be open to engage with their coworkers, to learn more about each other. The more we know, and I'm not talking about prying and, getting into what things people don't want to talk about, but at the very least, where are they? What are the things that are important to them? What are the holidays that they celebrate? What's the weather like? Sometimes can be really a 15-minute conversation because it's an experience. So how do we connect? How do we connect with other humans? And when we do, I believe that we have improved communication, we have improved outcomes because we can move beyond the fear. Anyway, I'll close with that. Anything you want to add to this, my
No,
friend?
no, I think it was a really good summary. Just figure out the experience part. Obviously, my title is Chief Experience Officer, and it's not
I was going to
because
say something, but
not because I like oversee CSAT surveys and stuff like that. It's because it's all about experiences. It's about the experience of the employees that then have the experience of interacting with the clients and the customers. And that's why we subscribe to the theory, if you focus on EX, employee experience, your outcomes on customer experience, CX, improve. And I think it's all about the experience, whether it's learning, training, the first impression you make on a new recruit, new hire, new training curriculum. It's all about the experience. If you can have the spark for the catalyst of that experience, I think you have a higher probability of having favorable outcomes. Really, that simple.
agreed. Agreed. So with that, please subscribe or come to our website. We'd love to hear more from you or leave a comment. We love to get feedback. If there's topics you want us to talk about, we're happy to do it. We're looking a lot at things that are going on internationally. So if you're outside the United States, don't feel that you're outside the conversation at all. We're very, very interested in these same challenges in different cultural markets. So thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.